Hello, everybody, and thank you for welcoming us here at the conference. So Emmanuel and I will make a presentation about our research, what we have done about medicinal plants and Greek medicine, and also our collection. So myself, I am Belgian, born in Brussels, and Emanuela is Italian, born in Rome, and both lived in our cities until a certain point of time, and then we met. And here you see myself in activity, doing presentations, teaching, doing research in libraries. One important point is that even when I was a student, as far back as 1971, I started collecting books because I was fortunate enough to be at the University of Louvain, which we see here at the library, but having teaching in classics, I didn't always have at hand all the books I needed. And so I started acquiring myself a certain number of books. Emanuela, on her side, she studied anthropology, and later on, while we were at the Smithsonian, we'll see that more ahead, she delivered a lecture. We made together a field trip in Australia because her specialty is Aboriginal Australian medicine, and this is the result of our interaction. I attracted her to the history of Greek medicine, and she pushed me toward ethnology, anthropology, and the fusion of our respective specialty makes the originality of our work. And together we made research all over the world. And so here we have just a map of Europe where we have been present. We have been teaching, doing research, lecturing really all over the world. And we see that we have red dot on Athens, but we'll see other things that we have done in Greece more ahead. And here we are, the two of us, in Venice, in Istanbul, in Athens also, doing research, making presentation, and even on the lower left corner at Anazarba, where Dioscorides was born close to the frontier of Turkey and Lebanon, close to Antakya. We have traveled a lot, and we have spent the past 20 years in the United States, and so we'll see that a little bit more concretely. In 2002, we had the pleasure of being part of the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., which is the research center of the United States, the larger research center in the world. And you see here the Museum of Natural History, National Museum of Natural History, where we were doing our research in the botany department, the collections here, the herbarium with all the specimens of the plants. And then later on in 2015, we had the occasion to move to California. I was teaching at UCLA on the left, and we had our basis at the Huntington in San Marino, which is a fantastic garden with a conservatory, which we see on the slide, but we were attached to the Botany Center of the Huntington between 2015 and 2020. Our activity was and still is focused on the medicinal plants of ancient Greece, and so I'll detail a little bit how we do our research. Originally, I am a philologist, or somebody who works on the text. And to know the plants, we take the text, the printed editions of these texts, and you have here the published version of the Periris Iatρικής of Dioscorides, which is the basis of the ancient medicinal plant science. But we also take a look at the manuscripts, particularly those with representation of plants, because we want to understand what the plants are, since they are the basis of the ancient therapeutic system. And we compare this representation of the plants and also the information in the text to specimens from herbarium, and this is why we were lucky to be at the botany department of the Smithsonian, where there is a huge collection of specimens. And we also find archaeological remains containing traces of plants. And here we have tablets of a medicine which is made of plants, and we have made a DNA analysis of that, and we came up with the plants that were amalgamated with clay to make these medicines. At the same time, we return on the text and we tabulate. We extract all the information which we tabulate. So as you can see on the left, Abrotonum wormwood, we have all the references in the CH for Corpus Hippocraticum, DSA for Dioscorides, the text, the references, and the applications of the plants. So this is a simplified version of the database, but to give an idea of how it works. And on the basis of all this kind of work, we also try to recreate the epidemiology of the ancient world. So we have at the center grid categories of pathologies or human system, the number of times we find them in the text, and on the right, the percentage. And you see in the middle of the slide, the ranking. The most important category was skin, nails, and mucus, second gastrointestinal system, gynecology, urinary tract. So that's in a nutshell what we are doing on this text. And on the basis of our analysis of this text, we have created over time a huge archive, which is about the plants of ancient Greece and their uses in pharmacopoeia. And you see on the right pieces of the archive. And so you see here, we are at the letter sigma, and we are at number almost 2000. So this is a huge file with lots of documents, all the information that we have collected through the years. And more recently, we went beyond Greece up to China. So this very important text, the Wei Yao Fang, which is about Islamic medicine in China. What is interesting, in one of these manuscripts, we have a term in the center of the page, which is not clearly Chinese sign. So I have cut it with my digital scissors, and I have turned these pieces, and we see at the bottom a word in Arabic, which is in fact teriyaki, teriyak, a Greek word. And in this text, there are lots of these terms about the medicines that the Chinese had from the Arabic, but which at the end of the day were in fact Greek medicines. And we have started working on the Chinese equivalent of Dioscorides, Li Shizhen, and we have made comparison between the Bensao Gangmu and Dioscorides to see what the plants of China on the Mediterranean might be. So our research strategy, as this very brief presentation has indicated, is to be completely cross-disciplinary. In the upper part, you'll see what is the material we work on: libraries, museums, collections, and also gardens, the plants in life. In the center of my slide, you'll see all the disciplines that we introduce into our research: IT, computer things, philology, that's my original formation, anthropology, Emanuela, but we look at botany, zoology, mineralogy, up to genetics, and at the bottom of my slide, what we produce. And on that basis, we found ourselves in a situation when we could not avoid to create a new research center which merges all these specialties, the Institute for the Preservation of Medical Traditions, which we created in 2007. And so you see here very briefly the 10 years which led to the creation of the Institute, 2007 the Institute, and then the activity of the Institute and how it went. And here is a figure which puts together all the specialties that we bring together: a diamond at the center, IPMT for Institute for the Preservation of Medical Traditions. And so you'll see in the upper part, library science and rare books, And if we go around clockwise, computer science, history of art, history, botany, environment studies, medicine, translational medicine and therapeutics, and also genetics. So this is the core of our research, what we do and how we do it. Together with that, we have a very specific communication strategy. And so you see here the pyramid. On the right, the communication means. On the left, the audiences. And so we start with the general audience, the herbalist, the scientists and pharmacologists, and we end up with scholars, for example. And corresponding, for scholars, we publish books and articles, for scientists and pharmacologists, databases, and for the herbalists, monographs on the plants. They use this in antiquity, while for the general audience, we deliver lectures, publish articles in magazines, and we hope also to be able to create documentaries. And so at the Smithsonian, and later on also in California, we had the pleasure of having students, assistants, collaborators. You see here we are in action in different circumstances with all these people. We publish, you have an article here in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology precisely on the interaction between Greek and Chinese medicine, books about herbs, which we have published, you see them on the right, and Emanuela with Costas Grivas and other Chinese colleagues has published an article also on the history of Chinese medicine. More recently, myself, I published a 5-tome catalog of Greek medical manuscripts, which you see here. And just this year, in March, came out a work of which I've been the editor, the second volume of a 6-volume cultural history of plants. And so I have been the editor of the volume 2 for the period corresponding to the Byzantine Empire. We had a website which was very active, and you'll see here the audience of the website throughout the world. The point is that you see that when we check by cities, Athens was the third most important city for checking our website. But in 2012, we have changed our communication strategy, and we shifted from a website to a Facebook page, and that is the Facebook page of our institute. And so all this was a very successful story. When we were at the Smithsonian, we have made several discoveries. We have published several important documents and material. And so as you can see, this information is circulated worldwide. We were even in the Washington Post or in the Smithsonian Magazine and other manuals. But in 2019, it continued. I was awarded a prize of the American Institute for the History of Pharmacy for my life production. But returning to our research, first, very important program is the search for Greek manuscript with medical text from Byzantium and the time of the Iatrosophia. This is a manuscript from outside, but when we open this manuscript, you see that they can be very different types of writing, illustrations or not, and sometimes also pages which are very much destroyed in the upper right. And the manuscript themselves can be burned, for example, here. You'll see an example of that. The binding is quite destroyed. But sometimes the worms eat the pages. And that's dramatic because the exact point of a manuscript is that each copy is different because texts are reproduced by hand, and so people can change the text. And usually they change it by introducing the result of their own experience. But when worms eat the pages, we lose the information. And so this is something that we will never have again, we cannot recover. But sometimes pages were also cut because people wanted to have a nice page of a manuscript in their house. They framed it or things like that. And so once again, this is an information that we lose. You see here several of the cities where we have made research, searching for Greek medical manuscript, and you can see that in Greece we have been very active in the island, but also Thessaloniki, Mount Athos, Larissa, Athens, and Kalamata. But also in big libraries, as you can see here, in London, Paris, in the Vatican, in Greece, here again, Athens, the National Library, the ancient location, the Hierarchy at Kratos, the Monastery of St. John, the island of Patmos, here Vulcanum Monastery, Samos, here the Agora, the collection, and here I am with Kostas Grivas and Tritakis doing research at the library of the Agora. And here I am in a church close to Thessaloniki, Hortiatis, examining a manuscript which is there on this small table with a colleague who is deciphering it while I am taking notes. These are the instruments, the manuscript, the white globes, the table, my computer, a catalog. So that's the instrument of the codicologist. And here I have in my hands a manuscript dating back to the 10th century. We are at the Monastery of St. John's in the island of Patmos, so thick manuscript on parchment, 10th century, which I am handling with all the care that is needed. Here in Samos, Iatrosophion, much more recent, you'll see the kind of notebook it looks like. And on the basis of all this information, we have created a database which was originally in this format, but we've transformed it. And now it is available on the website of our institute, and it is searchable in open access for free. And more recently, in 2016, I have published a census of all these manuscripts, Greek manuscripts, with medical contents from Byzantium to the Renaissance. We analyze all these manuscripts and we database all the information, and you'll see here the structure of the relational database, which makes it possible to establish connection between the different manuscripts. And just as we did with the plants, we have created an archive with the result of all the work we have done on the manuscript. As you can see, this archive is organized by cities, the cities where the manuscripts are kept, from Alexandria, Mount Athos, Berlin, Bologna, Brussels, Cambridge, etc. So we have there the result of 40 years searching for the manuscript all over the world, taking note, analyzing, and collecting the information. You remember that I have said that as early as I was a student in the 1970s, I started collecting books. During all these years, I have continued collecting books, and this student shelf became a real library. And after 30 years, in 2002, all these books were collected in one place. They were in several locations in Europe, Rome, Milano, Brussels, Madrid, and we brought them to Valencia because we brought the collection from Europe to the United States in 2002. And so we crossed the Atlantic Ocean from Valencia to Baltimore with all the pieces that we had put together. You'll see here that we also brought together books that were in Philadelphia and in Oklahoma, where we stayed and where we had accumulated a certain number of books. And thanks to that, we could have our entire library open, officially inaugurated in 2004 at the Smithsonian, and we could realize what had been my dream ever since I started collecting books, making my collection open to other colleagues, scholars, and scientists. And people came really from all over the world to work on our resources. So this library, globally speaking, contains books on Greek medicine, Greek manuscripts with medical content, the botany of the Mediterranean world, the medicine plants of ancient Greece, the history of medicine in the Greek world from antiquity to the Ottoman period, and globally, the Greek medical tradition. It is a library about Greece, Greek medicinal plants, and Greek medicine. And so you see here again, I am working in the library at the time of the Smithsonian. But in 2016, we had an opportunity to move to California. And so we moved the library from Washington, D.C. to California. You see here a huge maritime container. Here, the library, which is packed. These pallets with big cubes. That's a part of the books. And in 2016, the same year, the library was properly organized. You'll see here these moving shelves, and it could be opened once again to the scholars. And in the meantime, it grew substantially and is a very important library, totaling almost 30,000 items, books, articles, and journals. You see here how happy we were to be able to have our library again properly organized, available and open to everybody, even to monks of Mount Athos who came to pay us a visit. And as you can see, they greatly enjoyed seeing what we have done on the history of Greek medicine. Returning to our research program, a second research program important is the digitization of the Greek manuscripts. So starting from our database, you'll see here, we have in the website the digitization of a manuscript currently preserved in Padua, in Italy. You see here the images. You can see the manuscript as if you had it in your hands. We can focus on one page, for example, to see it more in detail. And we have the text. We transcribe the text so that we can have on the same page of the website the text in a modern graphic form and the ancient page. Another important research program is the digitization of the text, not only of the manuscript as an object, but the text. And so you'll see that we transform the text from the time they were written, libraries, rare books, to possibly a cell phone. And so here I am myself digitizing work. We upload these texts on the website of our institute, and you'll see they are totally searchable in free access, absolutely clear. And we have created several websites, Digital Hippocrates, Greek medicine, and Byzantine medicine, to have all these texts collected in one place. And so we can say that with all the digitization of manuscript and the Greek text, we have in one place, the institute and the websites, all the resources about Greek medicine. We have made a similar work when we were at the Smithsonian about printed Renaissance herbals, and we built a website which unfortunately is no longer active now, but here you'll see we had the pages with the books, and we had here for each page the identification of the plant with the names in the different languages that were used at that time. And so it's an encyclopedia of the ancient printed herbal. In 2021, last year, the library left the Huntington in San Marino. So you'll see here, we were boxing 30,000 items, which is quite an endeavor. You see here, these boxes all carefully numbered to be able to recreate the library when it will arrive to a new destination. And you have here the archives of which I've been talking, the flora of classical antiquity, for example, or the Renaissance herbal. We have there in these boxes 50 years of research. Here, the boxes are wrapped, 850, 27 pallets, 32 cubic meters, totaling 15 tons. And the library is empty. The books are gone. You'll see here, the pallets are taken up by the forklift, uploaded on the truck, and the truck is leaving the Huntington with our books. This is the second truck because it was so important that 2 trucks were needed. Right now, we don't know where the library and the research will go. It's a phase in our intellectual journey and our adventure, and we hope that just like the caryatids, the library can go to Greece because we believe that Greek medicine should be back in Greece, be available in Greece, and be research in Greece with people, scholars and scientists coming from all over the world to take advantage of our documentation and work with us on ancient Greek medicine to make it known worldwide. Thank you very much for your attention, and thanks again for the opportunity to present our research, our library, our intellectual journey, and our adventure through life. Thank you.